and gentlemen, the Holy Book in Matthew 25:14-30 tells one of the parables of Jesus Christ. And this is the parable of the talents. This parable teaches us to invest whatever is put in our care wisely for the benefit of our master. The master in this case is the people of Ghana. This administration is just like the last of the servants who buried his talents that was given to him by his master, and when his master came, he returned the 1 talent to him. But in this case of Akufo-Addo and Bawumia and their cabal, they did not bury the 1 talent and give us back our 1 talent when we returned. They gambled with the talents that we gave them, and they landed the people of Ghana in a huge debt. We cannot continue on this path. Lessons must be learned from the experience of these last almost 8 years. A vote for the MPP will be an expression of satisfaction with the impunity of the last 8 years. A vote for the MPP is a vote for a 3rd term for Nana Akufo-Addo. A vote for the MPP in this election is a vote to escape accountability. It is a vote to allow officials who have stolen and raped this country's resources to escape accountability and go laughing all the way to their bank accounts. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are presenting to you a manifesto that will help take back your future, take the future of Ghana back into the hands of the Ghanaian people. Ladies and gentlemen, whose heart is filled with compassion, as I said, for the people who he has the humility to connect with and understand. He should not be a leader who views the public purse as a family Agyapadeɛ, or in English, heirloom, or even the mandate given to him by Ghanaians to govern. He must not view it as a manifestation of his birthright. A leader who has his sights on leaving a legacy for posterity. That is what we need today. Ladies and gentlemen, their flag bearer and his running mate, who have been prominent actors in this horror movie Ghanaians have watched these last almost 8 years, you know horror movies, don't you? Their flag bearer and his running mate, who have been prominent actors in the horror movies Ghanaians have watched these almost last 8 years. These people cannot be the ones to exact accountability from the government of which they have been an integral part. We are at a critical juncture in our democratic history. Choices we make in elections come with consequences. We cannot afford to fail this time. A restive youthful population does not have the luxury of trial and error. They do not have the luxury of trying a driver's mate who has learnt his driving skills from the same driver who crashed the Ghanaian vehicle of state. Our nation needs a reset. Our democracy needs a reset. Our economy needs a reset. Our governance needs a reset. And our attitudes need a reset. We need a government that will galvanize the efforts of all Ghanaians, irrespective of ethnicity, religion, or party affiliation. We need a government that will allow all businesses to thrive, whether owned by domestic investors or foreign investors, no matter their ethnic, religious, or partisan colors of its owner. We need to make a change A change that will usher in a government that is responsible and accountable. We need to open up this country for business again. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to present to you our manifesto. We need a leadership that will crack the ship when its own appointees go down the wrong track. We need a responsive government that will respect the rights and freedoms of our citizens, including journalists, and address the ongoing decay of state institutions and fight corruption by deploying the Operation Recover All the Loot principle. Operation Recover All the Loot strategy, and that is ORAL. Today we gather with hope as one people, united in victory, and as one nation, Ghana, with a common interwoven invisible destiny. Today we also gather to reignite and reaffirm the dreams of our forebears, led by Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the founder of our great nation, a nation with one destiny, a destiny that cannot afford to endure one additional day beyond January 7, 2025 of the maladministration, the mismanagement, and state capture this nation has been subjected to over the last almost 8 years. For the sake of God's children and in the name of God, the people of Ghana will wake up from this nightmare and envision a bright new dawn of opportunities for all its people and not just a few. My brothers and sisters, our dear nation Ghana is bleeding. Ghana's soul is calling for change. Mother Ghana is crying for its true and genuine patriotic citizens to rise up to reset our beloved nation. Ghanaians can take no more of the hardship, the impunity, the state capture, the hypocrisy, the lies and bad governance that has been inflicted on them over the 2 terms of this outgoing administration. We cannot fail Mother Ghana, and therefore I urge you all to vote for change on December 7th, 2024. We, the members of the National Democratic Congress, have gathered here to express our utmost belief in democratic governance and to proclaim right here in Winneba, also called SIMPA, that the time is up for this administration. The time is up for them to go. They have decimated our democracy beyond recognition. They've destroyed livelihoods and families and pushed millions of our people below the poverty line. Your vote on December 7th will end the tyranny. It will end the cronyism. It will end the corruption. It will end the hardship. It will also pave the way for the vision, experience, and trustworthiness. And I, John Dramani Mahama, is going to restore that to the Flagstaff House. As I've said before, this government must begin writing their handing over notes if they have not started doing so already. This MPP administration has been the biggest political scam that has been pulled on Ghanaians since our independence in 1957. And I'll explain why. They were repackaged with ribbons and sweetly scented with enticing promises. Most Ghanaians will agree that Nana Akufo-Addo is indeed the president Ghana never got. And indeed, I dare say, his much-touted economic whiz-kid, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, is also the economic messiah Ghana never got. The NPP government took over from our administration on 7th January 2017. They inherited an energy sector we had stabilized with the fastest mobilization of emergency power of almost 800 megawatts in the history of Ghana. Along with this came a new Energy Sector Levy Act, which we call ESLA, with potential revenues of 3 billion Ghana cedis every year to pay off legacy energy sector debts. They inherited an ongoing Millennium Challenge Compact of $547 million aimed at making Ghana's energy sector the most efficient in Africa. This ruling family, quarreled over the shares in the PDS company and led to the US pulling back $190 million, which was meant for the most critical component of the compact, and that is private sector participation and improvement in collections at the distribution end of the electricity value chain. They inherited more than $450 million of the IMF extended credit facility initiated by my administration. Most of our state-owned enterprises were breaking even or making a profit. We handed that to them. They inherited a cocoa production of more than 960,000 metric tons of cocoa, with a cocoa board that was making profit and owed only 1.5 billion cedis to the central bank in cocoa bills. We handed over to them 2 new oil-producing wells, the 10 Field and the ENI Sankofa, which increased Ghana's oil production by more than 100,000 barrels per day, with additional gas of more than 200 million standard cubic feet per day. And this increased Ghana's oil revenues from petroleum by more than $500 million every year. They took over from our administration a stabilization fund in which we had accrued $277 million, a Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund with seed money of $270 million, a sinking fund account at the Bank of Ghana with a balance of over $200 million. They inherited a budget that ran a deficit of 6.1% with zero borrowing from the central bank, the Bank of Ghana, zero borrowing. They inherited a stable currency that traded at about 4 cedis to $1. Inflation was at 15.4%. Unemployment was at 8.4%. And when we handed over the administration of this country to the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia government, Ghana's debt as a percentage of our GDP was 56%. As a result of fiscal consolidation, we handed over an economy that was set to grow above 8%, as predicted by the World Bank and IMF and all the credit rating agencies. Private businesses enjoyed an enabling environment to thrive, and foreign investors were queuing to make investments in our economy. The NPP government also took off with a stabilized economy and significant buffers with enormous domestic and internal goodwill. Indeed, this has been the most favored government in our history. But alas, the Ghanaians' people's favor, their goodwill, has been repaid with only pain and anguish. This government has received more revenue than all governments combined in the history of Ghana. And as the saying goes, to whom much is given, much is expected. Unfortunately, the people of Ghana have been severely shortchanged by this administration. The scorecard of this administration has been abysmal. An inflation rate that went as high as 54% and is currently still hovering above 20%. Ghana today has one of the highest food inflation rates in the whole of Africa. We have a currency that has depreciated to almost 16 cedis to $1, and we borrowed more than 70 billion from the central bank, the Bank of Ghana, causing a serious upsurge in inflation. and causing the Bank of Ghana to go broke. We have a debt to GDP that went as high as 104%. And today, the unemployment rate is almost 15%, from just above 8% in 2016. Worst of all, Ghana has defaulted on her debt payments and has therefore engaged in a debt exchange that has resulted in painful haircuts, and they have deferred the tenure of bonds at lower interest rates. This has caused a lot of trouble for investors, including pensioners. Cocoa production, which has been one of the mainstay of our economy, has plummeted, and for the first time in the history of our country, the Cocoa Board annual syndication, which was sought after by all international banks, today it has no takers. Nobody is willing to lend Cocoa Board any money. Production volumes are down, and Cocoa Board is seeking to delay delivery of almost 350,000 tons of cocoa to next year. It means that your government, NDC, is the one going to have to find the 350,000 to fill that hole, to pay the debt. Cocoa Board has also defaulted on almost 13 billion Ghana cedis in cocoa bonds. Oil and gas production has declined by 32%, and debt to independent power producers has increased astronomically. Today, the majority of state-owned enterprises are posting massive losses. The COVID pandemic, rather than being an adversity, turned out to be a blessing, with a windfall for this government of almost 25 billion Ghana cedis of inflows, most of which were doled out to companies owned by family and friends. The majority of our citizens are convinced that our country, Ghana, is going in the wrong direction. Faith in our democracy is at its lowest, and many of our youth do not believe that constitutional governance is working for them. Faith in our democratic institutions and the political leadership is at its lowest ebb, and corruption is at its highest. And Ghanaians have become numb to the scandals that are exposed almost every week. And when you have a president who says he does not understand the hullabaloo that is being made about the sale of snitch hotels to a minister in his own government, then clearly he is on a completely different wavelength from the rest of us in this country. My brothers and sisters, this is a president who just doesn't get it. Many domestic and foreign investors have adopted a wait-and-see attitude. Many of them I have met have told me that they are waiting for a signal from the Ghanaian people that the political and business environment is going to change for the better, that we are going to effect a change of course so that we can provide a reasonable environment for them to put in their investments.